Barbados pulling out all the stops to keep the Zika virus under control. Emergency personnel kept busy with 2 serious accidents this morning. And in sports, Pinelands have their hopes for a knockout repeat dashed by Warriors.
Credible, balanced, committed. This is the CBC Evening News.
Very good evening. I'm Lisa Broom with the CBC Evening News. In our top story tonight, Prime Minister Fendel Stewart has thanked scores of repeat visitors for supporting Barbados and its key tourism product. He made the comments during a reception at Illawarra Court, which was organised by the Barbados Tourism Product Authority. Mr. Stewart says the industry, which grew by 14% last year, is on a secure growth path and appears destined to lead Barbados's economic recovery.
You have demonstrated that you walk both by faith and by sight because you've kept coming to Barbados. And as I drive around the country and as I observe the ease with which you interact with our citizens here, I know that we are on to a very good thing. I'm convinced that the future of the tourist industry of Barbados is secure.
Mr. Stewart says Barbados will continue to search for new markets as it seeks to further develop the sector.
You've come here, you've occupied our hotel properties, some of you have actually bought homes here, and year after year you come here and you spend your money with us. The result of your loyalty, your commitment, is that we now have a tourist industry that leads this economy and is the principal earner of its foreign exchange.
And Prime Minister Stewart left the island today to take part in a private event over the weekend. He will meet with and address hundreds of Barbadians in New York at the Friends of Barbados DLP Association's pre-50th anniversary independence cocktail sip on Sunday. Mr. Stewart will return to the island on Monday. While he is away, Minister of Tourism and International Transport Richard Seeley will act as Prime Minister. The Ministry of Health today confirmed that the number of Zika cases in Barbados has risen to 4. Ryan Broom reports.
Chief Medical Officer Dr. Kenneth George was the bearer of some good news.
Within the last hour, we have gotten an update from the Caribbean Public Health Agency. 18 of the 27 tests were negative for Zika, and the remaining tests are pending.
However, Health Minister John Boyce says efforts to prevent new infections have been launched through the ministry's vector eradication program. Components of that program include fogging in selected areas, strengthening of laboratory capacity, and intensification of education about mosquito control. And more punitive measures will also be used.
Fair but firm application of the Health Services Act 1969 in the prosecution of persons found breeding mosquitoes on their premises.
Meanwhile, Dr. George says because of the limited testing resources, pregnant women with Zika-like symptoms whose future children run the risk of being born with microcephaly are being given special consideration.
We will certainly be prioritizing our ability to test, and therefore the first priority would be pregnant women or persons who are at any stage of their pregnancy.
But as a general rule, the health minister says Barbadians should try their best to avoid infection by wearing long sleeves, sleeping under mosquito nets, and wearing insect repellent.
Note that insect repellents containing DEET, picaridin, and IR3535 are safe for pregnant women, while eucalyptus and lemon oils are natural alternatives that are already in use in Barbados.
Minister Boyce also says that those suspected to be infected, especially pregnant women, should consult their doctors for advice on how to get tested. Ryan Broom, CBC News.
Director of Surveillance, Disease Prevention and Control at the Caribbean Public Health Agency, or CARPHA, Dr. Joy St. John, says the large number of deaths from breast and cervical cancer in the region is alarming. She says this is because cervical cancer is largely preventable and breast cancer can be detected early and treated successfully. CARPHA, in a message to mark World Cancer Day, says cancers are the second leading cause of death in the region and warned the disease is on the rise, particularly among young people. The agency says the majority of cancer deaths in Caribbean men are due to prostate cancer, followed by lung cancer. Police are investigating a suspected murder. 24-year-old Travis Austin was found dead last night by police at Central Place in Haynesville, St. James. They made the discovery after responding to a call about 11:10. The body of the late Prior Park, St. James resident reportedly bore multiple wounds. And police are also probing the circumstances surrounding the unnatural death of 54-year-old Louise Knight, a Canadian visitor. Knight and her husband visited Worthing Beach in Christchurch on Wednesday. She apparently got into difficulty in the sea and was pulled ashore by two people. Knight was taken to hospital by an ambulance, where she later died. Two children were among those injured in two separate accidents this morning. One, involving three vehicles, occurred along the Windsor stretch of Highway 5 in St. Philip. One of the vehicles, a hired car, overturned. Two other people, both adults, were also injured. The other accident took place along the section of the ABC Highway near the Dighton Griffith Secondary School in Christchurch. It involved two vehicles. We'll have more news after the break, including the latest on that oil spill in St. Lucie. Stay with us.
Why advertise with the Barbados Yellow Pages? Get the facts. There are over 190,000 books distributed island-wide annually. Over 5 million online searches annually. Access to Google-certified experts to manage your SEM campaigns. The only multimedia company with solutions to market your business through print, online, and mobile platforms. The facts are clear. Your business needs to be listed in the...
A lot of people think that fast boys are cool, and the girls surely the guys who write them. But like so many things about life, you gotta be careful. Having sex without a condom is like riding a bike without a helmet. It's just plain dumb. It's okay to have fun as long as you're smart about it. My name is Daniel the Lion Fortress, and I'm different, and I'm making a difference.
Live up, love, protect, respect.
By the time the sun wake up and it start turn up, me ready to start me day out. Work hard till me sweat, now me thirst want me quench. A time to cool it back down. Cool running smooth, refreshing and thirst quenching. Pure all natural wholesome goodness for healthy living. And just cool runnings.
Refreshing pomegranate flavored water and cran water with ginseng. Just cool.
The Arawak cement plant has started a cleanup at Half Moon Fort following an oil spill in St. Lucie yesterday. It has confirmed blotches of oil that washed ashore originated from the facility. Optimization Manager Matthew Thornhill says during the removal of an old oil line at its jetty, a section of it accidentally fell into the sea, leaking about 1 gallon of oil into the water.
A ship was blocking the movement of the oil, but some floated out to sea. What Arawak did in response to that is that we immediately contacted the Environmental Protection Department. We filed a report and we inspected the site. The EPD then recommended that we should do a further inspection of the coastline today. And what we saw on that inspection of the coastline was that there was some oil on the beach here by Moontong.
Well, beachgoers say before the oil started washing in, they could smell it in the area.
It started to spread out around lunchtime. So much so that you could actually see the top of the sea glistening, right? It's my suspicion it came from a boat.
I was just doing my work this morning and I smelled this oil, and when I looked across, I saw all the oil in the sea and the fish was jumping up and going back down. So I called the other guy with the boat and I asked him, and he told me that he smelled it too, and it was a lot of oil in the water, real oil.
Mr. Thornhill says although there's still more work to be done, the situation is stable.
Investigations are currently underway to determine if the source of the oil spilled on this beach at Moontong was also from the spill which we had at our jetty yesterday evening. There's currently no visible sign of oil on the sea water surface, and that is a good sign in terms of this being the end of the situation.
People living with HIV and AIDS should be afforded the same rights as any ordinary citizen. This point was stressed by the manager of the HIV and AIDS Food Bank, Stacia Whitaker. She says there are still pockets of stigma and discrimination here in Barbados, and she pointed to what she says is self-discrimination from people living with the disease.
Nobody may be paying you any attention, so to speak, but you're automatically thinking someone knows what you're doing, what you're coming here for, who you're coming here to, etc. However, we try to address those areas as best as possible. Sometimes we tell individuals if they feel uneasy, we say, you know, well, you could walk with a normal cloth bag, you could put your food in there, nobody needs to know what you're coming out of here with. And we try to meet them meet them where they are, halfway, because we want them to access the service, especially if they're having issues finding basic foods. We want them to come. We don't want them to stay away from clinic. We don't want them to stay away from treatment because of society.
The HIV and AIDS Food Bank received a much-needed donation from the Lions Club of St. Michael. Ms. Whitaker says the food bank provides a service of nutrition and support as she welcomed the donation.
And that is very important in any treatment of any type of disease, and with HIV especially. Despite individuals are on medication from our clinic, there's still a need to improve nutrition, and some individuals are not well enough to either work or they don't have the means to basically have some of the basic items to support their immune system. So when we have donations like this coming in, we can have a variety of items, fresh produce, as well as those non-perishable items. We can help to encourage individuals to eat healthily, as well as to give them nutrition counseling on the foods that are important to support their immune system, as well as the medication that they will be taking.
President of the Lions Club of St. Michael, Indra Skeet, says the club donates to the food bank monthly. Among the items sent this time, tin foods and non-perishables, along with a hamper from the National Union of Public Workers.
This initiative is something kind of personal to me also, because I started about just going into 10 years now, where I decide to keep a big luncheon and I ask clients to donate. So now it's a contribution that I'm asking, and I take the money and donate it, buy stuff, actually not donate, but buy the stuff and bring it here and donate. And most of my Lions Club members support the event, as well as my members, my client from my salon, and the NUPW.
Barbados is one of 4 CARICOM countries whose agricultural workers won't be required to have both a valid visa and passport to enter the U.S. That's because it's benefiting from the elimination of a U.S. Department of Homeland Security's non-immigrant visa exemption for agricultural workers. The Department of State says the new rules will come into effect on February 19th. As a result, certain Caribbean residents seeking to enter the United States as agricultural workers will be required to have both a valid passport and a visa. The State Department says eliminating this visa exemption, which was originally created to address labor shortages during World War II, will ensure those traveling to the United States have been sufficiently screened via the Department of State's visa issuance process prior to their arrival. In celebration of Black History Month, CBC takes a look at African fashion in Barbados, which is growing in popularity. Denise Blackman has that story.
Black History Month. It's the time of year dedicated to our African heritage, the history, the music, and the clothes. But for some, this culture goes well beyond just 1 month. And for CBC's regular viewers, you may have caught a glimpse of one such example. Rosemary Aline, Director of Broadcast Services here at the CBC, is widely known for her elaborate headwear and signature African pieces.
Yes, I do hear the discussion and I get the compliments.
Does it affect you at all?
No, it does not. Because when I look in the mirror, I like what I see.
Miss Aline says her passion for African clothing began in the 1980s, and she now wears African pieces almost every day.
Sometimes I choose what I wear in the morning depending on my mood or depending on which part of my African heritage I want to celebrate, or maybe what has been happening in my life.
Although she encourages women to embrace African wear, she says she does understand that not everyone is willing.
These clothes are very defining. To me, they speak a language, and I call it the language of dress. And remember that in Barbados, things African amongst a lot of our people have very negative connotations.
But she says her unique style has already influenced many.
Some women would meet me and say, but you know, it's because of you that I'm wearing this, or you know, they say, well, I would like to wear this piece. And I always try to encourage them, just start wearing one piece and you'll see, you look fantastic.
Someone who would agree with her is Betty Ochieng, owner of Africana Fashions in Canary Mall. The Kenyan started the business in 2010 after noticing what she calls a gap in the local clothing industry. She too believes that African garments and accessories should be embraced by Barbadians and used on any occasion.
Barbadians are 90% of African origin. So I think that is why they need to embrace the African culture by wearing, you know, the African clothes.
Ms. Ochieng says her clients are just as interested in her culture as they are in the clothes, which are from all over the region.
My clothes are from Ghana, from Nigeria, from West Africa and East Africa.
Ms. Ochieng says Barbadians shouldn't be nervous about wearing African fashion. In fact, she believes that appreciating this part of our heritage contributes to our sense of identity and leads to self-acceptance.